know you can buy a can of whipped cream. They're fun and they're easy, but making your own whipped cream is really, really simple. It's just cream, sugar, and I'm using
Micromanja, courageous cooking in a crowd kitchen.
I love a good layered dessert. This New Year's Eve, I made a banana and butterscotch pudding trifle. It was such a hit. And for a birthday for a friend, I made a tiramisu. That's a layered dessert. And there's a special day coming up for just me and my loved one. So I just want to make a layered dessert for two. So I'm going to make parfaits. They are so simple and so delicious and so impressive. Let me show you how to make them. Here are all the ingredients for old-fashioned butterscotch pudding. We've got milk and cream with a pinch of salt in there, brown sugar, butter unsalted, vanilla and bourbon, but you don't have to use bourbon if you don't want, but I like bourbon. Cornstarch, water, and a deep pot, which you'll see why we need a deep pot when we get it all on the stove right now. So we're on like a medium heat, and we're gonna melt the butter. That might take a minute. The thing about making this pudding, it doesn't take very long, so you can't walk away from the stove because you don't want things to burn. Butter is getting all melted and bubbly. We're gonna put the half a cup of brown sugar in there. You wanna cook this until the butter and the sugar have all become one glorious bit of butterscotch, because that's all butterscotch is butter and brown sugar. All right, so the butter and the brown sugar have had about a minute to get to know each other, cook a little bit. It's already starting to smell so good, like a candy shop. Now, the milk and the cream are warm, not cold, because if it's cold, it will seize up. Watch what happens when we add it. Slowly, we're gonna do it. So you wanna put in about a half a cup and get it all incorporated with each other so that there are no big hunks of sugar. And then slowly add a little more. All right, now we've got all the milk in there. Just turn up the heat a little bit. We want to bring it up just before it boils. The next thing we're going to do is add cornstarch to thicken the pudding. I use cornstarch instead of egg yolks. Some people make their puddings with egg yolks. I like using cornstarch. So we're gonna make a slurry. You wanna use cold water, and there's 3 tablespoons of cold water going into 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And basically, you've gotta get those lumps out before you add them. So I do a little mixity mix. Oh my God, it's already getting there. Look at this. Slowly pouring it in. Again, you don't want to dump the whole thing in all at once. Kind of let it get to know one another. Look at this. It's already doing its thing. I am whisking away to keep those lumps at bay. Hey, that rhymes. Basically, we're going to cook it for about a minute. You just want to cook out the cornstarchy flavor, which takes about a minute. I pretty much think this is done. It's been bubbling away for about a minute. I'm going to turn it off. The last thing we add is the flavoring, the vanilla and the bourbon. And you do that with the flame off because you don't want to have a explosion. We want to cool this off as quickly as possible. So I have a flat vessel in which to put the pudding. All right, I am going to put a piece of plastic right on top of the pudding because I don't want a skin to form. If you like a skin on your pudding, you can just put this pudding into little cups and let the skin form. But I'm going to use this in my parfait. I'm going to pop this in the fridge to cool and we'll build more parfait ingredients. What is a parfait without chocolate sauce? And let me tell you, it's so easy to make. It's simple. There's just butter, milk with some vanilla, corn syrup, dark chocolate, and powdered sugar. And the magic happens on the stove. we're gonna melt the butter. That might take a minute. Butter is almost all melted. I'm gonna pour in the milk and the vanilla. Ooh, see how it bubbles up? That's why you want a nice deep pan. Corn syrup is nothing to be afraid of. It's just glucose, which is an invert sugar, and it's mostly added for texture in confections because it helps keep it chewy and glossy. And if you taste regular corn syrup, it's not that sweet. This is not high fructose corn syrup. It's just plain old corn syrup. And in she goes. Now I'm gonna just turn it off, and we don't wanna burn the chocolate. We're gonna put the chopped chocolate into the hot milk and stir it until she had all melted. So just like when you make ganache, you're pouring hot liquid over chocolate to melt it, and you have to re-emulsify everything. So you just give it a nice little stir. Now I have the heat off because you don't want to burn the chocolate. You just want it to melt. You want it to sort of come together. The last thing we add is powdered sugar, which I'm going to put through a sifter. Let me just do this. Be prepared to have sugar all over the counter. Let this cool a bit before you make it into a parfait, or you could just pour it right over ice cream like hot fudge, or you could just dive right in. I know it's really easy to just buy a can of whipped cream and squirt it in your mouth, but it's actually really simple to make your own whipped cream. You just need cream, sugar, and I'm using vanilla, but you can flavor it however you want. In fact, some people don't even put the sugar in. Let me show you how simple it is. Cold cream. You have to be careful because if you over whip it, it turns into butter and there's no turning back. We got everything ready to build parfaits. It starts off with some kind of cake. I have some angel food cake I've cut up into squares, but you could use a store-bought pound cake or a leftover banana bread or even muffins. And then I've got my butterscotch pudding, which is nice and cold, and I've kind of woke it up just a little bit to get it creamy. I've got bananas, I've got strawberries, whipped cream, chocolate sauce, any kind of glass you like where you can see all the love that goes inside. That's what I would use to build a parfait. This is where the fun starts because you can do this however you like. You put your cake on the bottom. If you want to add liqueur, you could pour a little liqueur over that cake. I'm going to do a big dollop of butterscotch. Stick some bananas down on the side so it looks pretty on the outside. And it kind of all goes in layers. This is something you could do with your kids too, to be honest. Get them in the kitchen. A little whipped cream. Oh my God. More cake. More bananas. Make sure they show a little bit. More pudding. A little bit of whipped cream to top it off. And if you really want to get fancy schmancy, you could pipe the whipped cream. I did do that for New Year's Eve and it was lovely, but this is awesome just the way it is. So there's the banana butterscotch. Now let's do the strawberries. If you have framboise, you could pour some framboise over this. Put in the strawberries so you see them. They look pretty. Doesn't have to get too fussy. Whipped cream. Oh my. Now, let's do a little of this chocolatey. Now this chocolate fudge, oh my God, this is like so decadent. How many times a year are you gonna do this? More of your cake, boop, some more strawberries, made a mess, clean up that edge, more whipped cream. Oh my gosh, who's not gonna fall in love with you after this? Oh my goodness. You could add bananas to this too. I'm just keeping it kind of simple, but you could go hog wild. You could make this with brownies instead of angel food cake. It really doesn't matter. You could, however you like. That's what's the fun about making it yourself. I think I'm gonna just put a little another dollop of whipped cream on top. Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. Let's get these two together. If this doesn't tell your loved one that you love them, I don't know what does.
Micromanja, courageous cooking in a craft kitchen.